Thank you, Emma, and thank you all for joining us tonight. I'm as excited as you are for this very special Nat Talk. We are incredibly lucky to have Catalina Porras joining us from the field in Sierra San Pedro Martir, and to give us this update on the Condor project. And I'll formally introduce Kati in just a moment, but first we want to take a little time to acknowledge the original stewards of nature in our region and share some information about some upcoming programs. As an organization focused on preserving biodiversity in this region, it is important that the museum recognize and pay our respects to the indigenous peoples who are traditional stewards of the land. Specifically, we recognize the Kumeyaay people whose ancestral homelands the museum currently occupies, as well as many communities in the Baja Peninsula whose ancestral homelands we will be referencing in today's talk. We honor their continued legacy of understanding, caretaking, and upholding the pillars of biodiversity. You can learn more about the communities occupying this land, past and present, in Expedition Baja, an exhibition on the museum's 4th floor. And speaking of the Baja Peninsula, our next Nat Talk, which takes place in just over 2 weeks, includes a film screening of the 2021 documentary La Recua. The movie follows the epic journey of Dario Higuera Mesa as he travels 200 miles in 20 days, herding a pack train of donkeys from the heart of the Sierra de la Giganta all the way to the capital city of La Paz. Fearing that the old traditions might be lost forever, he overcomes hardships of health, rattlesnakes, and hot days on rocky, forgotten trails in order to honor the memory of Lower California's long-haul equine merchants, the muleteers of Baja's donkey pack trains. And I've seen the film. It is absolutely gorgeous and definitely takes you into parts of the peninsula you probably would not be able to get to on foot. And you can sign up for this talk through our website. After the film on November 9th, you can have a chance to talk with the director, Trudy Engel, and it will take place Wednesday, November 9th at 6 p.m. in our museum in the Charmaine and Maurice Kaplan Theater at the Nat. Now on to tonight's talk. The 2022-23 season of Nat Talks is made possible by presenting sponsor, the Downing Family Foundation, and media partner KPBS, the public media station serving San Diego and Imperial counties. And we're very grateful to them both for supporting us in this program. We are absolutely thrilled to be able to host Kati Porras, who spearheads the restoration work at the Condor Sanctuary in the mountains of Baja California in the Sierra San Pedro Martir. I was fortunate to have had the rare opportunity to see this project and the condors up close. Last year, I traveled to the peaks of the Sierra San Pedro Martir to witness the incredible dedication and conservation work that Kati and her partner and all the others on the project are doing. Their dedication to the condors is truly inspirational, living under isolated field conditions, and we'll be seeing a little bit about them later, living there year-round, astoundingly for those of us in San Diego through significant amounts of snow at well over 8,000 feet. Kati and Juan's expertise and dedication are major reasons that we can see condors soaring over the Baja Peninsula today, and we all owe them a tremendous debt of gratitude. With that, I would like to introduce tonight's speaker, Catalina Porras. Kati began her work with endangered birds in 1996 with Fundación ARA in Monterrey, Mexico. There she was responsible for the diets of 98 species of birds. That'll be something to ask her in the questions. She also hand-reared citizens or parrots and was in charge of artificial incubation. She has tracked golden eagles and peregrine falcons using satellite telemetry. In 2002, she moved to Baja California to work for the California Condor Reintroduction Program, and we'll hear about her work there this evening. Welcome, Kati. And as she's coming on, just a reminder, if she freezes or the screen, we have any glitches, bear with us, and we will reconnect. Welcome, Kati.
Thank you. I am thrilled and a little bit nervous, I have to admit, but I will do my best in sharing you. I'm going to share this screen just a little bit. And thanks for the opportunity of giving this talk and to share with you these lovely birds. I know there are different opinions about if they're pretty or not, but for me, they're amazing. They're elegant. Oh, well, let me show you some of the pictures. I'm going to talk to you about the California Condor Reintroduction Program, as Judy said, in Baja California, in the National Park of Sierra de San Pedro Martir. Okay, I believe the condors are really amazing in their characters, their temperament. Every individual has its own personality, just like humans. Here you can see a picture of an adult and a juvenile. And on the right,
I'm so sorry to interrupt. We can't see your slides just yet.
Oh, sorry. Let me go back. Sorry, where do I share? Share screen?
Yes, at the bottom.
And then this, let's see. Now, can you see it?
And
yes, can we start the slideshow?
I'm sorry. Isn't it
perfect?
Gorgeous? This is a male, 403. And one of the breeders, successful breeders I was telling you about. Well, I'm gonna keep on telling you about, well, the images you can see here. On the left-hand side, it's an adult condor. On the right-hand side, a juvenile. And the picture on the right, it's one of the birds that is released, the one in the how do you say, in the first slide. And all condors that have a yellow tag are wild hatched in the Sierra de San Pedro Martir. Very proud of that. But I don't know how some people don't believe they are, you know, gorgeous. For me, they're good looking. Well, obviously, I have been here for 20 years. I love them really, really much. And I have learned so much about them. You can learn from each individual. So let me keep on. Why do we care about condors in the first, how do you say, in the first place? It's because they are really important for the ecosystem. Vultures reduce the dissemination of infectious diseases, plagues, and they do clean the environment by eating dead animals, reducing the time of decomposition and recycling nutrients. Many people don't know about this. And everyone wants to put, you know, why is it important? And they want to put it in numbers, in monetary, on funding. How does it help, you know, the human beings? Well, people that live in the city really do not understand how connected humans are to nature. And if we break, you know, the chains that make up the balance of the ecosystems, we can get in deep trouble. We really need carrion eaters like condors to maintain that balance in the wild. So, okay, that's why they're important. Let's keep on. And just a little bit about the history of the Condor Recovery Program. It was, many of you should, I believe you know, obviously, that in 1997, there were just a total of 27 condors left. In April of that year, it was the last condor in the wild was trapped. And all of the birds were put in breeding centers in the States, first in the LA Zoo, and starting with the LA Zoo and the San Diego Zoo. Then other breeding centers added to this effort. The Oregon Zoo, the World Center for Birds of Prey of the Peregrine Fund, also now the Chapultepec Zoo and the Oakland Zoo. And well, And then in 1992, the first condors that were bred in captivity were released in Bitter Creek in Ventura County. So that was the first release site. The second was in the Vermilion Cliffs in Arizona in 1996. In 1997, the third release site was in Ventana Wilderness. This is in Central California. And then in 1999, when Mexico added the condor to the list of species of common conservation concern, people from both government, from the United States and Mexico, worked together to make this happen, to start the fourth release site in the Sierra de San Pedro Martir National Park here in Baja California, where we know condors once lived and soared in these skies. In 2003, a fifth release site started in Pinnacles National Monument, also in Central California. And this year, I was very excited to know that finally the Yurok Reservation in North California was able to release condors too. So now, I mean, there's a lot of partners here. The picture on the right, it's the first three condors that were released back in 2002. And because they were released in October, we had to trap them because we had very strong and deep snow that winter. And they were not gonna have a chance of survival. They didn't have anyone to learn from. And well, we were concerned. Maybe they were capable, we don't know. But we were afraid that we could not track them because back then they did not have any satellite telemetry radios. And we had to track them by land, by foot. And it was a very harsh winter. So we were not gonna be able to track them and see if they were gonna be able to feed on their own. So anyways, let me go to the next. This is a very old pictures back in 2002. This was how the pen was built with volunteers that Mike Wallace recruited to help us build the release site here in Baja. This is the tent where I used to sleep. We lived here 6 months. When the winter started, I mean, the how do you say, the fabric of the tents cracked with the ice. So we were practically sleeping, I mean, freezing. It was freezing temperatures and nowhere to hide from the snow or the ice. Next, we, with the help of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the San Diego Zoo, we get to get these trailers and campers, but they are not meant to live in the cold winter. So inside, in this camper, we installed, how do you say, wood, firewood stove. And as you can see, we adapted it here. So we had some firewood going in the inside of only of it in this camper. In this one, we had only 2 solar panels. With this, we will charge our radios so we could communicate while we were tracking the condors. And we had only 1 generator at first. So I could work with the computer for, you know, twice a week and work on the computer and charge it, but nothing more. We didn't have any water back then. And so we had to go down the Sierra like every 15 days to go and take a shower in some hotel. Now we live in this field station. Now we collect water from this, from the roof, we have some, how do you say? It's something you install here in the roof so we can collect water from rain. We have several water containers, but huge containers. And that's how we manage to survive during the year. And we have to do our own firewood. And also we have a chimney. And we also have solar panels now. So that's why I am able to, to give the talk. And we have some service of internet. I hope this doesn't, we have any problem with this. Anyways, now what were the first challenges we faced here in San Pedro Martir? First, as you could see, we live in a remote area, as Judy was saying, and we used to have only one access to the park. Now we have another road. So in case of a fire, because we have had very huge fires, we managed to have at least another way of going out. We have weather conditions that go, temperatures like 4 degrees Fahrenheit all the way to 86 degrees Fahrenheit, but it doesn't last long, the high temperatures. Then we also have a lot of difficulty in recruiting people willing to work and live in this remote area without the commodities of the city. And back then, as I explained to you, we didn't have any, with no electricity, no running water, still not running water, but with the water we collect, we are able to have some baths. Then the Condor food source was very difficult in the first 14 years at least, because we had to go down the Sierra and talk to the ranchers to let us know if they had, a dying horse or cows or whatever. So it took a lot of effort and time on our side to be able to get food for the Condors, the ones in captivity and the ones that we were gonna release, the new released birds that didn't know, that they have to learn how to find food on their own. And the wildfires, as I told you. But luckily we have a lot of support from the brigades, fire brigades, and the park rangers. When we started working back in 2002, there was only one park ranger. Now we have at least like 4 to 6 park rangers besides the firefighters, Anyways. And these are the main threats that we have detected. Not the same amount, it is not the same as in the States, but we share some of the threats. Here, the main threat is predation by mountain lions and bobcats, especially in juvenile condors. So it doesn't matter if we just release a new bird to the wild, it's the first 2 years are the most vulnerable. The same happens with the wild hatch. Once they fledge, the first 2 years after they fledge are the ones most vulnerable. So this is the time for them to learn. And now that we have many more condors, they learn, we have seen they learn in a faster or sooner than the first condors. It took much longer before. Lead intoxication. We do have lead exposure, but not as much as in the United States. I will show it to you a little later. And trash and micro trash. This picture, I took it while I was visiting the LA Zoo. And unfortunately, they received, while I was there, a condor that fell from, or fallen from the nest. It was 4.5 months old. And when they took the radiograph, they could see that condor had this amount of trash. For me, it was shocking. We don't have that amount of trash in the nests when we have been able to access nests. It's like maybe the most we have seen is 6 to 9 pieces of micro trash. But in this picture, you can see an adult condor, a female breeder. The stud book number is 505, with a can. And this year, I noticed in some of my colleagues in the States showed a similar picture. This condor does have a GPS tag, a GPS, a satellite transmitter. And I tracked her and I said, well, she didn't went down, you know, to the kind of the areas I would expect her to get in trouble with this can. But we do have some cattle activity going up in the Sierra. So it could have been from ranchers. I don't know, we don't know. But if we didn't have the chance to capture this female condor, it would have been a great loss, because it takes a long way for a condor to mature, and not when it's already ready to breed, but I mean, they are just like humans. There are some condors that take longer time to choose a mate, and they are picky. So anyways, let me go to the next slide. This is, I was telling you about the lead exposure. Here in this graphic, you can see the deaths here in Baja California, the ones that have not been recovered, because not all the condors that we have released have a satellite tag. And so we couldn't recover them. Then we have predation. 22% of the deaths are because of predation in juveniles, as I was telling you. Lead intoxication, the ones we have been able to analyze, it's only 10%. And then not determined, it's that, I mean, they did the necropsy, but they couldn't find anything wrong. And then ectoparasites, it's one of the chicks, the first chick, in fact, died in the nest attacked by ectoparasites. This breeding pair nested in an old golden eagle nest, which is not the right, how do you say, the right, I mean, naturally condors lay the egg in this, like in the sand, in the dirt inside a cavity. Some in the United States, they nest in, you know, maybe you have seen already a picture in a big, huge redwood. But here mainly, we have only detected condors nesting in cliffs, in cavities in cliffs. And so that was unfortunate. That first breeding pair nested in an old golden eagle nest, as I was telling you, and it's not the right substrate. That's the right word. And then one by trauma, and then what else? Other. Well, anyways, and here on the right on the right graph, it's in these past 2 years, the amount of blood lead level that we have analyzed in the condors. We trap the condors. We want to trap them twice a year, but in the past few years, we have been able only to trap them once a year. And as you can see here, it's very few incidents of high blood lead level. And this was just recently in August of this year, we detected only one condor with high blood lead level. And we released it because it was a breeder, and we trapped it again, and luckily the blood lead level went down. It's like half of it. So that shows us that it didn't have any fragments in its body. Otherwise, it can die. Anyways. Depredation, as I was telling you, this was last year in August. I don't know if you can see here, it's a bobcat in a feeding site. And this is the condor. It is a juvenile, but it did flew and was as other condors, but it was unfortunate. And the bobcat, you know, they really jump very high, and it trapped the condor. But well, that's a natural death, at least. I am really upset when any condor here in Mexico or in the States or any other animal in the wild, I mean, that dies because of anthropogenic causes, because of humans, that gets me really upset. We should do something, and that's why we fight for the survival and for reestablishing a condor population here in Baja. And we are very lucky to have a very healthy habitat here. I will show you to you in the next slides. This is, I don't know if you can see my cursor here. This is where we usually monitor the condors, obviously in this place where I took the picture also. And I want to share to you the clips, how abruptly they, you know, how vertical they are. And these clips can measure like in between 600 to 1,300 feet of height. So it's Juan Vargas. And here also with Mike Wallace, that we really miss him so much, because he was who really made this happen. And well, to have this release site here in Mexico. Well, anyways, he's going down to check on a nest in these clips here. And these are my friends, Jacqueline and Alejandra, doing some telemetry in this area here. This is Mike Wallace again with Juan Vargas in one of the first nests in the Western Cliffs, close to the release site. And here's going in another opportunity, going back again to this nest to see how the condors were doing. This is a picture of the Sierra de San Pedro Martir, you know, inside the condor polygon. And let me show you this, I guess this goes picture, maybe you cannot see it as quite as I can, but let me go stop here and show it the next video. How can I stop this? Okay, next slide, no, next slide, here. This, I hope you can see this better. This is also in Punta San Pedro. You can see how beautiful and stunning, it's magnificent, this area, because it's great for the condors. We don't have any issues with localities or towns around the Sierra. Only in the, how do you say, in the coast. In the coast, that's where towns lie most. So here in the middle of the peninsula, they are free. I mean, they have this beautiful landscape. These are the condors. It's like heaven. I love it so much. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I do, you know, experiencing this here in the Sierra, Not every day, but now that we have more field staff, I have to stay more in the office, processing information and, doing other stuff. But this is a beautiful landscape here up at the Sierra. Here is on the other side, looking from to the eastern cliffs of the Sierra. This is in Laguna Salada. This is Iram, doing radio telemetry. And here is the National Park of Sierra de San Pedro Martir polygon. Here is the observatory polygon. Here is the tourists or visitors area. And this is where we are. So these are very inaccessible cliffs areas. So we really cannot go up there like every year to check on the condor nests. This is some breeding behavior happening here. This is 269 copulating with his mate. Here's the picture here is the one I was telling you about, the first nest attempt back in 2007. This is, as I was telling you, the substrate of old golden eagle nests. And this is in a natural, how the substrate should be, just soil or in this case, it's granite, sand. This is the breeding attempts for 2022. And we saw 8 breeding pairs engaged in nesting activity. When in this area, which is looking, this is Punta San Pedro that I showed you. Here it's one of the pens, and way here we have the field station. Well, condors nest in these cliffs, also in here. The breeding pair that nested this year here, successful, but when we confirmed they were the chick hatched. It was this June we lost the female, so we do not know if for sure the chick will make it or not. On the other hand, we had 2 nests. Let's see if you can see this cursor, 2 other nests in this side of the Sierra. But the problem is that when they nest that close, then they fight so much because they don't want not only other birds to get close to their nest, but condors, they do fight very hard. And when that happens, they fail. They failed, or only one breeding pair have success. Anyways, this year, the 2 breeding pairs we had in this side of the Sierra, both failed. They did not finish the incubation period, which is normally 57 days. And we could see that with the GPS data we downloaded from a website of, from a website. And I could tell they did not finish the incubation period. And then we could see them both. Female and male, they change during this 57 incubation period. So when they started, that's how we get to know that they already started incubating. Because before they start incubating, we see both of them, the male and female. And then once the female lays the egg, we only see either the female or the male. That's how we know they are already incubating. And this year, the 2 breeding pairs, they didn't even finish the incubation period. So anyways, here, this is one of the breeding pairs. And you can see how they really protect. Here, this female, 284, is attacking a golden eagle, which also shares these cliffs, because golden eagles nest every year in these cliffs too. So they have success if the golden eagles, nest like this kind of side of the Punta San Pedro, and the condors are nesting in this side. But when a golden eagle goes past close to the nest, condors really, chase the golden eagles away. It's fantastic to see this. These are the breeding territories in the east. And I was telling you, these are very, very hard to reach places, nests. And we could see two condors nesting. Well, this is very close. It seems like if it's only one, but it's two breeding territories here, but they do not see each other. It's I don't know if I'm explaining myself, but they don't see each other. And to my surprise is that the nest close to 320 and 220 nest, it's in fact daughter of this breeding pair. I don't know if that makes it more tolerable or not, but these are the closest nests we have seen, and that they are doing well. We have these other two territories. Here we only have one female with satellite telemetry, and this other one. This is making my head, spin. I don't understand what's happening with this male. Now we were able to trap what we suspected to be the female, and in fact they are sharing the same territory, but this is very awkward. Most of the condors are very they concentrate, and you can tell with no hesitation where the nest is. I can tell for sure the male started incubating an egg, and this is because of the satellite data. The female also is doing the same here. I suspect, but only if I have a helicopter to go and check, I believe they can be nesting in this area, but where there is, the only thing they could be nesting in this area here is in a pine. But I have no means to, to confirm this. I'm just guessing, but it's an unusual behavior that it doesn't concentrate. It just, I don't know what's happening. And okay, let me show you this. This is made by the California Condor Recovery Program. And this is like the summary for 2021 population status of the California condor. And as you can see, in a total, we had, by the end of December, 537 condors, 334 condors enjoying, the wild. We have 40 condors in the wild right now, but I have to mention that in the past 7 years, we have not released condors from the US. The border was closed, and because of, avian diseases, outbreaks in both sides of the border, so it was closed. And we are fortunate to this year to receive 2 condors from the San Diego Zoo and 4 condors from the Chapultepec Zoo. So hopefully next year we will release them. And well, we have 15 wild fledglings in total of last year. As you can see here in Baja, only one, but the previous year we had 3 successful breeding pairs. So that's something why we only had one. Then now, let's see, here, I'm glad I did included the captive breedings occur, and here, as I was telling you, the places, the breeding facilities. And we hope to have, with the 8 breeding pairs, they engaged breeding this year. Well, I know 2 failed already, but it's between 4 and 6 that I hope they make it. I like to cross my fingers and expect the best. So I hope we are fortunate to have at least 4 chicks or wild fledges. And then, okay, let's see. This is the population. Oh, from the last 10 years, we have had, as I was explaining, only 16 releases. It was 8 releases in 2012, 6 in 2015, 2 of Chapultepec Zoo that are doing great in 2018. And we did have 3 releases in 2007, but they didn't make it. I mean, their behavior was not good enough, so we had to put them back in captivity. Now they're in Sacango Zoo in Mexico City. And well, we had a total of 19 wild fledges and wild deaths, only 14. If you can see the wild population as a total, including the United States, it's a total of 254 releases, including, well, Baja. I didn't rest the number up here, but it was a total of 254 releases, 106 wild fledges, and total deaths of 258. I know many of these was because of wildfires in California, and that's very unfortunate. Great losses over there. And what everyone would have expected is if we didn't have any more releases, the wild population in Baja would have gone down. But no, that didn't happen. The population went from 29 to 40. And it's stable, like releases, non-releases, sorry, the wild fledges are, you know, above the wild deaths. Anyways, we are very always concerned if they find a carcass, you know, contaminated with lead ammunition, we can have great losses. And in the past, we did had like 2-3 issues of high lead intoxication. Like half of the wild population was had high lead level, but they were treated and released back into the wild, and they're doing fine. And well, we expect to have this next year 2 condors being released from the San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance, and the 4 condors I was telling you from Chapultepec Zoo. And well, let me continue. This is, I only added 1 map, but as you can see here, this is the polygon of the national park. This is the observatory polygon. The red one, it's where we are. And this is the entrance of the park. As you can see, condors go really, really far from the park. And they're concentrating mostly in the mountain range. That's where they find natural food sources, and they also natural water sources. In the cliffs, you can find, you know, these water pools up high in the cliffs. You couldn't believe it. Very nice, by the way, beautiful places. And anyways, And here, this is the right now, our status. We have 19 males, adult, and 13 females. So we have a lack of females, and 2 more subadults, males, 1 female. And these have not been sexed yet. And this is 2 juveniles, males, and 1 female. This is the conservation and research activities we are right now doing. We're doing a research on microbiome of condors. Here is Doctora Guadalupe Bravo. It's taking a sample from the oral cavity of the condor, but we also take samples the same way in the feathers, in the head, in the, in the cloaca. I don't know if that you understand, And then this right now, it's going through these sophisticated machines, and they will give us like the results of how the immune system of the condors work. We know the digestive system of the condors is very acidic, and that kills most of the bacteria that will harm other avian species and other animals. That's the purpose of the scavengers, birds. And we want to understand how it works. Also, we're taking some samples of the, I don't know how to say this, I will say it in Spanish, glándula uropigial. This means they have this almost in the, let me show you, in this area of their back. And they use, it secretes like kind of, how do you say, cera, wax, kind of wax. And they use this to put in their feathers. We want to know several things about the composition of this wax. I will name it wax because it's kind of a wax, and that protects the feathers. And we would like to know if it has some antibiotic properties, and also what are the composition of this wax, and if it has to do how they identify each other, if that has kind of a smell that they can detect. So we have so many questions, so many things we want to know, and so much work to do to learn from these extraordinary birds. Here's Juan Vargas, shooting or fitting a VHF transmitter to this wild juvenile. Well, not so wild, not so juvenile. It's now like subadult. It's 900. This is female. Here's Juan Vargas taking, the weight of the condor. Obviously, we rest the weight of Juan to get to know what is the weight of the condor. And so this is an annual, health exams we do. We also do the, besides the analysis of blood lead level in the condor, just like in the US. And we also take the blood chemistry of the condors. And we do prepare our ID tags for the condors. I wanted to show you these tags because the first condors here, the first cohort were white tags. We still have, of the first 5 condors that were sent from the Los Angeles Zoo, the LA Zoo, 3 still are alive. This means that they can live a long time. I mean, we do expect them that they can survive here in the Sierra San Pedro Martir, even if we do not give them food. Some of the population in the wild right now, it has been happening this like even 10 years ago. Some of the condors do not show here anymore. I mean, it's once, if we're lucky, we see them once a month, if we're lucky. So it's so hard to get to trap all the condors because they spend most of the time in the eastern side of the Sierra or far away south of the polygon of the national park. Well, anyways, and so in the Colegio de Postgraduados, Colpos means Colegio de Postgraduados, which is where the Doctora Guadalupe Bravo belongs to, where she's doing this research. And she's also modeling, doing a GIS spatial model for the habitat quality for the condors of the peninsula, to get to see other potential nesting areas. And also habitat use of condors by the UABC. This is already a study that has already finished. And we wanted to know where were the condors spending more time. They spent a lot of time inside the national park because there is also some, they find a lot of food, by the way, inside the park. We have not only deer, but also we have borrego cimarrón, which is bighorn sheep. And also there's cattle. There's also, you know, cattle activity. And so there's enough wild food source that we know of, because we, every month we check where the satellite telemetry, this satellite data provides us of information of when the condors are not flying, where they roost, where they feed, where they concentrate, and we can tell the difference with only that they're roosting, you know, to spend the night, or where when they are spent several days in that area, in an area, and several condors, then we get to know that, and we have confirmed this every year, where if it's possible, we go to these places and check what they are feeding on. And so, well, they're doing very good. And then the feather-led analysis this is to know, this is together with the San Diego Zoo also, financing the University of Santa Cruz in California. Myra Finkelstein is analyzing feathers. We take some feather samples, send them to the US, and hopefully this year we can get the results. During a condor feather, like a primary feather, takes like 4 months to grow. So if the feather is growing, and I take a sample of this feather, I, take the date when we take the sample, and then we cut just half of the feather alongside, and that it's being analyzed, and they can tell you how many times a condor has been exposed to lead and how much lead it was exposed to. We would like to know this. And also, the San Diego Zoo Wild Alliance is doing some isotope analysis. We are taking from the blood samples, we take some and we send it also to the United States, to San Diego Zoo. And they are looking for ways to analyze what the condors are eating. And this will let us know also with the microbiome study of the condors, because we can do DNA analysis of what the condors are eating. And so it's like going to be 2 studies, one with the isotope analysis and also with the DNA analysis of the samples we took, just like this one here, but not in the oral cavity, but in the cloaca. Well, next. Thank you very much for letting me share our experience and our successful story of the condors here in Baja. And this is one of my, my favorite condors, 269. he has taught me so much about, how do you say, resiliencia, how to never get, how do you say, rendirse, I mean, to keep fighting and never quit, because he has lost many of the chicks, and he keeps the same spirit. I love him so much. And here's a picture of the field staff. I think I'm missing Patrick, but I don't know if it's in another of the pictures. And I'm here to, you know, answer any questions you have. I could have maybe share you more, because I have so much information, and I didn't include it, the outreach program. We could give talks to schools, we give talks to tourists or visitors here at the park. And we are trying to, we are working on alliances, you know, to do like the Baja California Condor network. And we're working on that too. And anyways, thank you so much. I don't know if I'm on time, if I spend more time or less time. I guess I'm on time. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Kati. I wish this were in person, because you'd hear roaring applause. There's a lot of wonderful comments in the chat.